Welcome to Electrified. It's your host, Dylan Loomis. Real quick, as I was editing, I forgot to tell you guys that I will be changing the thumbnail design for the channel, probably starting with the next upload. So maybe for this week, if you don't want to miss the videos, you can turn that notification bell on to get notified. So just be on the lookout for that new thumbnail design. Again, with this reset in my life, it's just time to refocus and recommit, refresh the channel a bit going forward. As expected, the Cybercab was on display today at the National Autonomous Vehicle Safety Forum in Washington, D.C., and this is likely very close to the final production version. And you'll see no wheel, no pedals, so somebody please check on Farzad. DJ and TOSV shared some nice photos of it outside in the sun, and they did share a VIN, which is on the screen, so screenshot it if you want it, but don't go plugging this into a VIN decoder, because at this point it's going to give you false information. Those decoders have not been updated for Cybercab numbering yet.
So I'm here at the Department of Transportation Autonomy Day, and I'm sitting in the Cybercab. Now I am 6 foot and I have plenty of room here. So we're just looking at some of the components. Nothing is activated, so screen's not working. These buttons aren't working. Everything's just here for display. But I want to note a couple things here. So it looks like it's kind of bad there. But so this, I don't know what this material is. It's like a plastic rubber feel. Obviously meant to be more durable, but not like anything in the current Model Y or Performance that I've seen. Definitely not carbon fiber. But other than that, I mean, you've got your standard Tesla look and feel, and I feel great in here. You have your headrest, your wall, cup holders. So a couple things I noticed when I did the live stream was that you have the staggered wheels. So you have an 18-inch rim in the front, 21 in the back. You've got the recessed repeater cameras on the side. And one thing I did not notice is that they seem to be part of the body. You couldn't take that off without breaking the paint. So that's kind of cool. You've got your bumper camera in the front. I really love the gold paint. Probably doesn't show up well in the video, but you got all the things. Let's see if we can get the camera up here with the washer. So big trunk. As I mentioned in the live stream, I am 6 foot. I could climb back there with probably 2 other people and be uncomfortable, but it would shut, but it looks great. So this is a different feel than the current Teslas. That's very cheap plastic, probably to make it easily replaceable. People banging luggage in and out. Other interesting thing is these are California manufacturing plates instead of the Texas ones that we've been looking at. So this looks great out here in the wild. Oh, there's the VIN, by the way. Somebody was asking about this. And this, depending on the angle that you look at, it's a little bit iridescent, changes. Very cool. So there you have it.
Sadly, there was no live stream of this day-long event, so we're just going to get a trickle of information, but we did get one big update already. We have the process of the first vehicle without a wheel and without pedals getting first approval.
Here at DOT, we want to make sure we have the right regulatory structure to meet the innovation that's happening not just in America but around the world. And so we want to drive safety but also allow those innovators to innovate. We want the next generation of vehicles which are going to be autonomous to be American made. We don't want to see these as Chinese made, Chinese technology. We wanted American technology. And so we're having a forum today. You can see maybe behind me, a lot of our top innovators from Waymo, Zoox, Tesla are here, and we're going to have a day-long conversation about, again, how we can have the right rule set to keep our safety mandate, but also allow them to continue to innovate. So if it wasn't safe, we would shut it all down. Like, safety is the #1 mission, but again, you're having this evolution in technology, which is absolutely remarkable. And Stuart, like, we have rules, like you need in a car to have a steering wheel. You need a gas pedal and a brake pedal. Yeah. Like, that's a rule, but if you have an autonomous vehicle, do you need a steering wheel or gas pedals or windshield wipers? So we have to rethink some of our requirements, especially for the autonomous vehicles, which will allow them to bring down price, maintain the safety structure, but again, move forward and be competitive with the rest of the world.
And so far, who is the big winner of today? Well, the federal government has begun the process of exempting the nation's first purpose-built robotaxi from certain safety standards, so it can deploy commercially on American roads. Amazon subsidiary Zoox had petitioned NHTSA last year for this exemption to put up to 2,500 self-driving robotaxis in a handful of US cities. And that process will move ahead as of tomorrow, Wednesday this week. It'll start with the opening of a public comment portal, and Duffy said if approved, the exemptions would enable the nation's first ever commercial deployment of a purpose-built steering wheel-free robotaxi. He said this marks a major milestone for providing the American AV industry with a streamlined pathway to scale commercial deployment. NHTSA Administrator John Morrison emphasized the significance of his agency's announcement. We don't take this request lightly, which is why we want to hear from the public to inform how we should evaluate this. And the event today drew more than 400 engineers, safety officials, lobbyists, and others. And the event did have that panel with the CEO of Zoox, Waymo, and Aurora. And just something to note, Zoox filed that petition for this exemption August of last year. Which means Zoox is now 6 months removed from that request, and they're just now having the public comment period opened. Part of that is because NHTSA has the authority to grant these petitions, allowing up to 2,500 vehicles per year per manufacturer to operate on US roads without those required human controls, but the agency has spent years reviewing several exemption petitions without taking action. And as we know, manufacturers have to demonstrate they can meet human-level safety, if not better. Automakers have been expressing frustration with the agency's slow reviews of AVs, but under the law, fully self-driving cars do not need NHTSA's approval if they have required human controls, aka wheels and pedals.
We're in a race, right? Everyone is trying to have the best technology that will be deployed around the world. And I want the technology to be developed in America, I want the jobs in America, and I want the rest of the world to use American technology. I don't want to see a foreign competitor / foreign adversary / communist party beat America and have their technology deployed around the world. This is a national security issue. This is an economic issue. This is a safety issue.
Frankly, these politicians can say the right thing until they're blue in the face, but until we see some action and some progress, many of us will be left unsatisfied. And I have heard at the fireside chat this morning, they talked a lot about how these companies can go from AV testing to commercial scaling, what the regulatory frameworks will need to be, exactly what safety assurances will need to be met, and how they can garner public trust. But perhaps most importantly, Duffy did announce NHTSA's next proposed revisions to the FMVSS for driverless vehicles. We don't have a date or a timeline, but hopefully in the days and weeks ahead, we hear a lot more about that. And so this process that Zoox is now going through and getting toward the end of is that Part 555 exemption that NHTSA has streamlined so that these approvals can come in months rather than years. So from here, the public comment period for Zoox will be open for 30 days, and then after that, NHTSA will examine all of the commentary and all of the petition documents to verify if Zoox meets all of the criteria, and then if so, Zoox could be granted that approval for 2,500 vehicles per year. I will say it really is fascinating that we don't know at all whether Tesla is going to need to go through this exemption process or not for the Cybercab. And given we're only a few weeks away from Cybercab production, and publicly we have no record of Tesla filing for a Part 555 exemption. And I have to say, the longer we go without Tesla starting this process, at least that we know of, it makes me think that Tesla knows something we don't know and has a workaround up its sleeve. And Joe Tetmeyer shared a video of all 3 of the camera cleaners on the Cybercab in action at once. I really wish all of these cleaners were shipping on passenger vehicles at this point, but we know where Tesla's focus lies. And the expectation still is that all of these vehicles with a wheel and pedals are for testing purposes only. There was also a photo of the Cybercab testing in Washington, D.C. So now in terms of states, we've seen it testing in California, Illinois, Massachusetts, New York, Texas, Washington, D.C., and Alaska. Despite everything Tesla has going on right now, the next few months in Tesla stock really feels like it's going to hinge on how the Cybercab is deployed. Producing it is one thing, a very encouraging step, but actually using it on the network unsupervised next is an entirely different thing. And whether we see that in April or July, at least in the short term, I think is going to have a pretty profound impact on the public perception and Wall Street's perception. Of course, long term, a few month difference means nothing, but in the short term, it's going to mean a lot. Today, XAI just got approval in Mississippi to build a new power plant to power Colossus. This after careful consideration of all public comments and community concerns. And as we know, Colossus 1 and 2 in Memphis, Tennessee are just across the Mississippi state line. And in addition to its effort to build a power plant in South Haven, XAI is also planning to construct another large data center there, dubbed Macro Halter, in a warehouse that was previously a GXO logistics facility. As expected, not everyone is happy about this. The NAACP is now planning to sue XAI over the company's prior and ongoing use of natural gas burning turbines without federal permits. But of course, SpaceX and now XAI are looking to build all momentum that they can heading up to the SpaceX IPO. We have this account putting out some interesting information about Optimus that I would largely classify as rumors, but I'm going to go bit by bit, because it does seem like they have some information that's actually solid. They said a formal V3 launch of Optimus, that event is planned for late March or early April this year, featuring a comprehensive product unveiling. Before this, key functionalities will be showcased in segments via video releases. So point one, that timeline checks out. That's what we're expecting officially. They said Tesla will show off static display, a new exterior design and mechanical structure details, like the dexterous hands drive mechanism, and dynamic demonstrations, voice command comprehension, and execution capabilities like selecting cups of different sizes in commercial scenarios based on instructions, which is rather specific. They said projected mass production of about 150,000 units this year, and the capacity ramp up following the launch event, significant order volumes are anticipated starting late Q2, driving a corresponding increase in production capacity. The ideal demand from Tesla's own factories for things like material handling, sealant application, quality inspection could reach 70 to 80,000 units, meaning that's how many Optimi Tesla would want to deploy in-house. For cost targets, the current small batch material cost is about $43,000 per unit, but after mass production, meaning 10 to 100,000 units, which is a big range, the target cost is $20,000 per unit. As I've said before, I think it would be foolish to expect Tesla to produce anywhere near 100,000 Optimi this year. These numbers have been thrown around many times over the past few months, but they really stem from comments Elon made over a year ago, which I think are completely outdated. It was well before we knew anything about Optimus version 3, and I'm keeping my expectation for Optimi production this year in the neighborhood of a few thousand. Personally, I would be very pleased with that, with production starting at all. In terms of cost, does small batch material cover everything for the cost of goods sold, or is that just a portion? The 43,000 unit would of course be a new number, but the 20,000 at scale, we've heard that many times before. They said V3 technical breakthroughs feature design philosophies. V3 is not an iterative upgrade over V2, but a first principles redesign. The hardware upgrades, that new dexterous hand, new linkage and tendon cable design enables superior grasping and manipulation, which checks out. We've heard Elon talk about that. The actuators have more efficient joint modules with higher power density and energy efficiency, enhancing single-hand grip strength, arm strength, and load carrying capacity. Tesla's utilizing high-performance materials to further reduce weight from version 2, while improving safety and mobility efficiency. And this PEEK stands for polyether ether ketone, which, as far as I can tell, is a high-performance engineering thermoplastic that's known to have pretty impressive properties. Some of those properties being it's quite resilient and has some self-lubricating properties, which is great for moving parts like joints and gears. It has a high heat resistance, it's corrosion resistant, and can sometimes be reinforced with carbon fiber for better strength where needed. But the most notable intelligent breakthrough is the preliminary learning capability. Optimus acquires imitative learning skills by observing human demonstrations or videos, employing a methodology similar to Tesla's FSD. That checks out, that's true. It understands complex voice commands and autonomously plans action sequences, meaning simultaneously retrieving printed materials and fetching coffee in an office setting. And if Figure is telling the truth, they're already doing that. They said there will be a commercial scenario interaction where it successfully completes personalized coffee orders, including preparation and table delivery, in a lab cafe environment with a 99.6% success rate. Very specific. In the Tesla factory, they talk about handling boxes up to 23 kilograms, applying automotive weather stripping and screw fastening. 23 kilograms is about 50 pounds. On performance, they said task success rates approach human levels around 99%, but labor efficiency is about 60 to 70% of skilled workers. Further optimization is needed to balance speed and stability. And the 3 stages of commercial deployment, Tier 1 would be simple environments, simple tasks. Think handling materials at factories, assembly, quality inspection, and logistics sorting. Tier 2 would be simple environments, complex tasks, like taking orders and meal delivery in commercial settings, cafes or restaurants. Key challenges include safety, preventing falls and collisions, and user-friendly interaction, requiring regulatory approval and data accumulation. Then Tier 3, longer term, would be complex environments with close interaction services, like cooking and massage in home settings, capabilities not yet achievable. For learning, it'll utilize extensive factory recorded worker operation videos as foundational data for end-to-end imitation. It'll combine reinforcement learning, rewarding correct actions and penalizing errors, self-supervised learning, enabling robots to learn from watching videos, and online learning. A single human demonstration becomes a new sample. And eventually going from a fixed process popcorn to personalized coffee orders with future goals including mobile ordering and robot delivery to vehicles. This for complex outdoor interactions. And they said a V4 project team is already established conducting preliminary technical research. The release timeline is uncertain and contingent on market feedback and Elon's assessment following the V3 launch. If V3 largely meets requirements, V4 may launch in 2028 via version 3.1 or 3.2 iterations. Significant shortcomings in V3 could accelerate a V4 release to 2027. A decision on accelerating V4 development will be made by late June 2026 based on initial feedback. And believe it or not, all of that checks out. It makes sense and aligns with my expectations. Elon has told us V3 might be in the neighborhood of 1 million units per year, but that'll depend on how V3 goes. And beyond that, when Tesla's talking about 10 million units per year plus, Elon has said that would be a future version. They said discussions are being held with US automakers like GM and Chevrolet and food service providers who expressed interest but require tangible product validation. For sufficiently large production volumes, around 100,000 units, Tesla will assist core suppliers in establishing North American and Mexican capacity to circumvent tariffs. V3 is not necessarily a transitional version, its status will depend on its success post-launch. And finally, Optimus V3 is on the eve of mass production with clear roadmaps for hardware, intelligence, and commercialization. The supply chain is primarily anchored by Chinese companies, forming a well-defined tiered structure. The robot's development follows an implementation path of industrial before commercial and easy before difficult, with the pace of its AI capability evolution being a key feature observation point. So there you have it. That's really something. Again, I think on the production volumes and those timelines, I would not be taking that. I think it's going to be a lot longer of a process than that. However, in that report, there was a lot of specifics and detail, things we haven't heard before, and things that do actually make sense. Initial deployment use cases, how Tesla wants to localize some of the supply chain, what we're expecting to be new with version 3, and how that will parlay into version 4 and those timelines. So honestly, the only thing I would really push back on are the production estimates for this year. I do think those are wildly high to the upside, irresponsibly so. Maybe something was lost in translation, maybe they were going with what Elon said in the past, maybe that's what the suppliers are gearing up for in time. But outside of that, if there is some truth to be extracted and this person has some inside information, overall, that's a very encouraging report. And when we get the Optimus V3 demo, if it does anything with coffee or grabbing cups, that would absolutely lend some credibility to this report. I didn't think I could be any more excited for this Optimus V3 demo, and I hate to admit it, but this one has me a bit more excited. Moan Transport said, we recently had the opportunity to put the Tesla Semi to the test and were thrilled with the results. Over 4,700 miles of operations at 1.64 kilowatt hours per mile in our Texas operation. And they shared some pictures of the Tesla Semi in testing. So yes, that efficiency is awesome. It's better than Tesla's advertised 1.75 kilowatt hours per mile. But the best Tesla Semi efficiency in real world testing we have seen so far actually came from ArcBest and ABF. In that testing, the Semi logged 4,494 miles, averaging 321 miles per day, with an overall energy efficiency of 1.55 kilowatt hours per mile. But Moan Transport's testing was right behind that, and basically every data point we've received so far means it should be a very fun year for the Tesla Semi. Tesla has quietly started opening its charging network in Malaysia to other EVs. Tesla now allows customers to charge their non-Tesla EVs with a CCS charging port at superchargers at 4 locations in and around Kuala Lumpur. Today, VW announced it's going to cut 50,000 jobs as profits drop. It said it will cut those 50,000 jobs in Germany by 2030 as profits drop to the lowest level since 2016. The cuts will fall across the entire group, meaning they will touch Audi and Porsche. It said it was hit by US import tariffs, intense competition from China, and high restructuring costs from the shift to EVs. VW is projecting a recovery in the coming year, but its finance chief stressed it would have to focus on rigorously reducing costs. And Bloom said, we are operating in a fundamentally different environment. I don't root for the demise of people, but rather the demise of outdated old technology. And the overall demise of ICE is going to take a lot longer than we initially expected, but very clearly the cracks are there and continuing to form. A new coalition of companies, including Google and Tesla, will address energy affordability by tapping into underused electricity grid capacity. Officials said they plan to release research soon from the Brattle Group showing U.S. consumers could save as much as $180 billion over a decade from system improvements. The coalition hopes that developing and communicating ideas about battery storage, distributed energy resources, and other technologies can get them more rapidly adopted. Hopefully, this trend catches on far and wide, as it would mean more great things for Megapack, Megapack 3, Megablock, Powerwall, Tesla Solar, and so on. Bon Eggleston from Tesla said, buyer beware, Matthews International stole Tesla's DBE tech and is now subject to an injunction and liable for damages. During our work with Matthews, we caught them red-handed copying our tech, including proprietary software and sensitive mechanical designs, into products for other customers. For 3 years, they lied about it, tried to hide their dishonesty, and continued to ship our tech to others. Recently, we obtained a permanent injunction preventing further theft from Tesla with financial damages to be computed. Matthews is now publishing complete nonsense to cover their tracks. To correct the record, Matthews was found liable for distributing Tesla's tech into practically every substantial DBE machine they've sold, and their ridiculous claim of ownership over our patents is an active dispute. Suppliers who exploit customer IP through theft or deception have no place in Tesla's ecosystem or in any ethical supply chain. You may remember back in 2024, Tesla sued Matthews and wanted $1 billion in damages for what Tesla thought they were doing. Of course, Matthews countered that, saying they had decades of their own IP and Tesla was trying to bully them and take their IP. And at the time, the courts and what happened in arbitration largely favored Matthews. So back then, Tesla tried to block Matthews from selling its technology, but it was unsuccessful. An injunction is really just a court order that usually gets a party to stop doing something. So for now, we don't know the extent of that injunction, but the expectation is to some degree Tesla has something new and they've now been validated in their arguments, meaning Matthews will be forced to stop selling this technology to some degree. But what do you know, today Matthews put out its own press release. They said for the second time in 12 months, an arbitrator has recognized Matthews' right to develop, produce, market, and sell its proprietary DBE solutions to third parties. This coming from arbitration February 13th this year. It said Matthews successfully defeated Tesla's most meaningful claims as the arbitrator issued an interim decision denying the broad injunctive relief requested by Tesla and rejecting Tesla's attempts to prohibit the company from selling Matthews' proprietary DBE tech and equipment. Instead, the interim decision includes a narrow injunction preventing Matthews from using certain parts in DBE machines. Matthews already has replacement parts, and thus the injunction is not expected to materially impede Matthews' operations or sales. With the support of these rulings, Matthews will continue to sell DBE equipment and provide state-of-the-art tech offerings to its customers. This includes Matthews' next-gen multi-role calendaring machine. Then the company lists its own patents around the tech that prevent other companies from improperly claiming for themselves DBE solutions developed by Matthews. So don't get it confused, Tesla bought Maxwell Technologies for its DBE tech back in the day. Matthews, a totally separate company, was brought on by Tesla as a supplier back around 2019 to build machines for the DBE tech Tesla was developing. In that process of bringing Matthews on as a supplier, Tesla shared confidential proprietary information to help them develop the tools Tesla would need. And obviously from there, everything fell apart. So right now, clearly it's a he said, she said situation, so we'll have to wait to see how this plays out in the courts. But this is actually a very big deal because we talked about Tesla's DBE breakthrough and it being one of the only companies to have cracked the code at scale. But if we have Matthews selling that same technology and giving that IP to all of its customers and its suppliers, then that's obviously a bad thing for Tesla. So hopefully justice prevails, truth comes to the light, and this gets sorted sooner rather than later. Tesla stock closed the day at $399.24, up 0.14%, while the NDX was down 0.04%. I don't really talk about short-term Tesla stock swings anymore, but I might start here and there going forward, not because I'm trading based on this information, I just like predicting to test my theses. I would argue we're still in a semi-bullish setup right now, but if, for whatever reason, Tesla eventually breaks below this 380 level, I do think we might end up testing back to the 340 or down to the 300 level in a worst case type scenario. Now obviously black swans could drive it down further than that, but just in terms of regular market dynamics, I would want to see Tesla hold that 380 level. And I will say for Tesla stock, my expectations are pretty low for the majority of this year. And truly, don't ever trade or make decisions based on any of my little commentary like this at the end of these videos. But just for fun, I am expecting the real Tesla stock run to happen sometime toward the end of this year, maybe into 2027. I think at that point, the 1 year look forward will start pulling in some financial and profitability increase for Tesla, which we have not seen for some time. And by then, hopefully the scaling proof is there, at least for unsupervised, and we should have some exciting things happening for Optimus as well. But I think through the summer and for Q2 and Q3, things might feel a bit muted relative to where expectations were. And we cannot forget about this SpaceX IPO. I do think there would be a material number of Tesla shareholders that might have to sell some of their Tesla to buy SpaceX. So that certainly would be a headwind and a negative catalyst for Tesla. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and a huge thank you to all of my Patreon supporters.